Just saying.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? Listen. All right, whatever. I don't know, I just haven't been really into it lately. I don't know what's going on with me.
I've been a little mushad.
Yeah, I don't know
lately.
what it is. I don't know. I just kind of just want to do my own thing, you know? I just want to stay away from people. Like Jen Thompson invited me to a party, and I'm like,
no. The captains and the coaches are having a team down in the players' houses next Saturday. I'm good. I don't want to. I just want to be.
Whatever.
Is this thing on? I want the show. Hey.
Hot mic.
Hot mic. This is it. On with the show. Hey, it's been 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I had a little scene last week.
It's all right.
You know
what? It was kind of like a holiday anyway, because it was President's Day and Valentine's Day. So Friday and Monday were kind of like, so it kind of made sense to me because I was like,
kind of a lead in on last Wednesday.
Yeah, and we kind of need like a little, when there's holidays, I think, when the kids have no school and all the banks are closed. And I said, you know what, it kind of works out.
Oh, wait a minute. I wasn't off from work. Never mind.
I wasn't either. Don't feel bad. I worked too.
Nerds.
But, I was saying it kind of worked out because it was kind of like a little holiday, little break. And I actually didn't have dance on that Saturday because the kids, when they're out of school, we're out of school. That kind of thing. So it kind of worked out because I was like, oh, that's good. I didn't have radio and I didn't have dance. And I just, it was nice.
Did your thing?
I did my thing.
Well, I didn't. My problem last week was I had a stupid crap stress test and it wore me.
Did you pass?
I don't know. I didn't hear from the doctor yet. I got blood work I got to get done. I'm like my grandpa down in the retirement village. And Joe Schmagega across the street, he had to go for an oncology visit, and then Marge from across the way next door. She had to go for her eyes at an ophthalmologist because she couldn't see, damn it, in the car. And I used to be like, why am I listening to this? I said, and then, I got the gout and that, and I got the uric acid. And it's like 95 degrees out, and my grandpa would have a cardigan sweater on outside in the sun. And I'm cold all the time because back when I drove truck, I hung my arm out the window, and now I'm 80 and it's cold. I'm like, okay.
Susan Lucci's 73. God bless.
Speaking of driving truck with your arm out the window, what?
Susan Lucci is 73. Wow.
Yeah. Well, what about Nurse Kelly from MASH passing away? I think she was 72 or 3.
Call me crazy. I don't remember any women on that show except Loretta Swit. I really don't. I don't remember any women on that show except for Loretta Swit.
Lieutenant Dish?
I don't remember.
Wow. Lieutenant Dish was very, very
I know you wrote that. You were like, as a fan of MASH, this is a sad. And I go, I don't remember who she is.
She was nice.
Yeah, but who did she play?
Other women.
What's that?
What?
I don't remember any other women on MASH either.
Oh, stop.
Right. Me too. I just remember Loretta Swit, Hot Lips Houlihan. That's it.
Yep.
I don't know.
Ginger, the
Ginger, like Marianne and Ginger and Gilligan?
African American gal, beautiful. Holy smoke, she was gorgeous. Lieutenant Dish, she was gorgeous. Nurse Kelly,
don't remember.
Was very cute.
No. I remember all the male characters. I just really do not. Oh, yeah. I remember when they changed, and then McLean Stevenson changed, and then they got, what's his name, Farrell come and take his place. I remember that.
Who?
In MASH.
McLean Stevenson was the colonel.
And he left, remember?
I understand it.
And then Rob Farrell came in when he left.
But he didn't replace him.
No, he didn't replace him, but he came in. He started after that guy left.
Because it was Sherman T. Potter.
Listen, the fact that I know that much about that show, you should be very happy because I didn't even watch that show. So you should just be impressed with that.
Actually,
I didn't even watch that show.
Actually,
how do I know that?
Mike
because
Farrell
I know
came
stuff.
In when Trapper John left. When
Trapper. Oh, right. What was his name? Trapper John.
I can see him.
I knew one left and one came in.
Yeah, Trapper John left and Mike Farrell, Lieutenant.
Captain. I remembered Mike Farrell's name. God.
And then.
Gosh.
And then Colonel Blake left and Colonel Potter came in.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like I said, I didn't really watch it that
Frank Burns
much.
left, and then Charles came.
I remember Radar.
He was from the movie. He was the only holdover.
Only one that came
movie.
from the movie.
Yep.
And Klinger.
Right.
And of course, Alan Alda. I mean, he's
Right. And Father Mulcahy.
the father.
Remarkable shade of
Jamie
brown.
Farr dressed up like a woman. He was before his time.
He would have been made.
It's so funny now when you watch it, old things where men dressed up like women. Like now, it's done, people do it. But at the time when they were doing it,
very shocking.
Well, you know what? It wasn't. Think about that for a second. Have a moment.
But you know what it was?
Because it really wasn't. Because I remember he would be in a dress, and I just didn't think anything of it. Like I thought nothing of it. And then Flip Wilson,
crazy.
I thought nothing of it.
I wear a Warner bra.
Bugs Bunny, thought nothing of it. I never once thought it was weird. And then it became weird because people talked about it, but no one was talking about it. That's why it wasn't weird. Get it?
Wow.
Think about it for a sec. No one made it a point. Well, and this is pre-internet, and all that stuff. But no one was like, "Oh my God, Bugs Bunny's in a dress. Oh my God, Flip Wilson's in a dress. Oh my God, Klinger's in a dress." Nobody talked like that. It just was there, and you were just like, "Oh, there it is."
Part of the storyline.
No,
I mean, Bugs Bunny with the fruit looked like Carmen Miranda.
Right, but that's my point. Is that nobody thought anything of it. But now, if a man's in a dress, it becomes a news story.
Well, because here we go. Everybody.
Don't make it political.
I'm just not.
Don't make it political.
You tee this up, I gotta hit it. Everybody now, is an attention hound. Oh,
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
Okay, there was just an overabundance, a preponderance of attention hounds, and then when they can, sorry but not really, spin it into their own agenda, whether it be personal, political.
But that's social. That's social media did that. I think it killed us. I think it was poison because I think. Like I said, when social media didn't exist, when these things happened, nobody really paid attention to it. And now social media is
just that knucklehead over there doing what he's doing.
There was no right.
So what?
So it wasn't news, but then it became news because of this thing called the internet, which has destroyed people. I think destruction. The phone.
Yeah. Well, because now I can
take a picture or a video, right?
Document everything.
Which is interesting.
That I deem, not myself, but meaning small I meaning whomever, deem interesting, necessary, and or worthy of, here it is again, attracting attention to myself.
But on the flip side, I kind of...
Dig me.
If I wish my phone had a camera back in the day when I was young and my mother was alive and stuff, because I would have been taking tons of pictures. Because we didn't have that.
Okay,
we didn't have those pictures.
That's you get out of my head, because when you mention about social media, think back. How long have you been, say, on Facebook? How long have you been there?
2000. Probably the year after it started. I remember I hit my 10-year mark maybe a year ago, so maybe 11 years.
So 2008, 2009?
Around that time.
That's
probably.
About when I started, 2009, okay? And at that very beginning, pardon me, I was, not that it matters, but I was out in Pennsylvania. And I'm still a member of the group. There was this group, and the exact name of it escapes me, but things you remember about East Brunswick, New Jersey, my hometown where I grew up. And I didn't live there, and I hadn't lived there at that point for a very long time. Of course, I'm back there now, blah, blah. So I'm on this Facebook group, remembering East Brunswick, things about East Brunswick that it was very interesting. People would say, "Hey, remember Dallenbach swim club? Hey, remember Showcase baseball field for Little League? Hey, remember Farrell's ice cream at the Brunswick Square Mall back in the 70s when they used to make a big commotion and all." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot all about these things," and it was very great. And you had like little conversations, nice with people, maybe some of whom you knew. Used to know and got reacquainted with, or that you didn't know from town, about Farrell's, ice cream parlor or whatever the heck, and it was great. It was this communicative tool.
Communicative.
Yeah.
I love that.
To just, shoot the breeze, chew the fat, shoot the shit for a while, with people who you know and people who you don't. Then it became this thing with an agenda. Okay? It was
pre-Facebook. I was on MySpace.
Oh, of course.
So MySpace.
So was I. I got my boss saying, "You kids with the MySpace and the Facebook."
maybe 13 years ago.
Yeah.
MySpace.
Like 06 or 07 or thereabouts.
Before MySpace, there was a thing called Friendster.
Yes. I remember
that. I think it was like Friendster. I remember
I tried
Friendster.
to get them doing business with us when I was doing online marketing, lead generation.
Yeah, I kind of remember that, but it didn't last very long.
No,
But MySpace was a juggernaut. I mean, I remember MySpace being the thing. Like, everybody wanted to be on MySpace.
That was the thing, and that was that. I had a MySpace account, and then all of a sudden, boom, Facebook.
Well, you know what? With Facebook, and I do remember this, is a friend of mine at work told me about Facebook. And said, "Oh, it's kind of like MySpace." I was like, "Okay."
Right.
So I had MySpace and Facebook at the same time, but I remember when I joined at Facebook, I noticed that a lot of Canadians were on it, and there was hardly any Canadians on MySpace, and I was really strange so I had this impression in my head. This is before I knew the Facebook story, but I thought like Facebook started in Canada. Because I didn't understand why there were so many Canadians on it. So all these people I grew up with and friends were on Facebook, and none of them were on MySpace. So I was thinking, this must be a Canadian thing. And my friend's like, no, it's like started in Harvard. It's like Massachusetts. I go, what? What are you talking about? I was like, what? And then sure enough, it just happened to be that they had reached that market, tapped that market very quickly. And my cousins were on it, so everybody was on it. And then ultimately, I deleted my MySpace because I was like, what's the point of having that?
I think I did too, probably around, I don't know, 2011, 2012.
I pulled all my pictures off because I didn't want them to end up in cyberspace and just shut it down.
Or maybe I didn't shut it down. I might still be floating out there all accidental.
Now it's like a music thing. It has YouTube links and stuff. Have you ever gone to it? It's really freaky.
Wow.
It's weird. It still says MySpace, but it's like it has like music videos. And it's just links to YouTube. It's not even like music videos like posted. It's like click here, and then it takes you to YouTube. And I'm like, well, I can just go to YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would I go to MySpace to go to YouTube?
Because it takes you there.
It's weird.
No.
But yeah, Facebook. Facebook. Well, this is what I've learned, and I think you and I talk about that. I don't engage. Whenever I engage, it becomes a mess. And actually, there's one on my Facebook now that's becoming a mess, and I'm kind of want to pull it. I'm kind of done with it. And I didn't put it up there for it to become a mess, but it did. You actually liked it and put something. But now people are talking to each other. And once they start talking to each other in a post, and I'm not even involved in the conversation, I get annoyed.
Yep.
Because, comment, whatever. I don't even mind if it's like a negative comment, whatever. But don't start having conversations with each other because it's just, I don't know, annoys me. So it was about the girl who died because she was waiting for healthcare in Canada.
Oh, horrible.
So now here's the crazy thing. Now, because I have Canadian and American friends on Facebook, I get both sides.
Oh, boy.
This is the difference. And then I love when the people who are American are discussing it. It's like, well, I kind of come from a place where I know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, hold on there before you like jump and start making it. Because, of course, right away it became political. People are like, see what happens? That doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it's like, wait a second. Hold on. And then my Canadian friend chimed in and said, well, I looked this up. He did the intelligent thing. He says it's a 4-year-old article.
Oh.
And it's actually not what really happened. And here's what really happened. And he says, I've lived here my whole life. I've never had to wait. And, and my friends are all chiming in who live there now and have the health care.
Right.
So I kind of think they're right, whatever they say, because they're like there.
They're doing it.
I'm not there.
They're living it.
I haven't been there in, 25, more than that. God, I haven't been there in 30 years. So what do I know? Except from what my friends tell me.
Of course.
But my grandmother, who is in the system, and this is based on what my uncle and aunt tell me, say things aren't very good. They're not good with seniors there. They don't take care of their seniors, but not for nothing. They don't take care of their seniors here too. So that's a common.
I gotta tell you, that's part of the reason why my dad and why I am a little more than a little reluctant to look at another place.
Unless you're a millionaire. Unless you're a millionaire.
Well, I got to tell you, my mother once said something. Well, actually, it wasn't my mother. It was a good friend of ours who. This is the guy I think I may have mentioned who was in the who's who's of American businessmen all the time. Top 500. He was a big consultant for Mobil Oil years ago, and he was very successful, and you'd never know it. He drove around in a 15-year-old car with 300,000 miles on it. That's why he was wealthy, because he didn't spend a lot on stuff like that, but I digress. My mother, who was not one to cuss, so to speak, but she would do so when quoting somebody else. Okay? Mr. Cooper was his name, Bob Cooper. Wonderful guy. A lifelong
Was she
friend.
hanging with him?
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Sometimes. Lifelong friends. They used to live behind us when we lived on Ryder's Lane. But, wonderful people. And he said to my mom something to the effect of, as he was getting older and starting to get a little unwell, Nance, the only difference about, where you end up as an older person is how much money you've got. I mean, if you've got some money, you'll be taken care of and cleaned up. If you don't have a lot of money, it's going to be laying in your own crap from time to time. And I'm like, oh man,
right?
True. And this is probably 15, 20 years ago. And I was like, ooh, gee, that's a heck of a thing to think of. Well, guess what? He's exactly right. It's a damn shame. Where again, this is a reason why I have a guy come in several times a week just to be there. He doesn't need to do much. He just needs to make sure that Dad gets around
all right.
And
he's not falling or anything like that, right?
And should I have to do that? No. Do I have to do that? Yes. To me, okay? And I get it, though. I mean, I just had a thing last night and overnight, God love them, and not telling stories out of school, but I mean, I'm sharing this because I'm sure that there are folks there, whether it's one or more, who are going through their own little, versions of what they're going through. So I come up to go to bed last night about 10:15, 10:30, and he's in a 90-year-old way. He's ripping and tearing. He's looking under the chair, and he's ripping and tearing and going through papers and this, and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I lost my ring. Now, he has never taken off his wedding ring, okay?
Right.
No. What do you mean you lost your ring? I just had it now. Just had it could be 5 minutes ago or last September. Okay?
Right.
And I don't mean that meanly.
No, it's just
how it has unfolded from then to now, whenever then was, okay? I'm talking about a guy, and I told you this, who was the sharpest tack in the whole factory of tack making situation, not even the box, okay? Now, I said, well, do me, and he's looking in his shoes, and he's looking in the papers, he's looking here, and he's looking there, and he goes back into the shoes and back, and I said, Dad, nothing has changed in the last 19 seconds that's going to be there. He goes, oh, I know. I said, do yourself, please, and do me a huge favor. One, know that this will turn up at some point, okay? Stuff like this always does. I know. Okay, good. Two, please do not obsess over this because, again, here's the other part of being older, what I'm finding out, especially for an introvert like my father. And now he's paying for it, and he's lamenting about him paying for it, but now it's like it's too late. I'm tired of being alone. Well, you should have jumped on let's go on the senior trips when you were able to. Now you're not really able to. So I said, what I need you to not do is to obsess about this to the point it's going to keep you up all night, and sitting in here with the TV going, at the 95,000 decibels. Okay. So I go down to bed. I roll over at 12:30, and I hear just off in the distance, not loud, but I hear it. The TV's on. Roll over again at about 2:45. TV's on. Roll over again at about 3:45. TV's on. Finally, at about 10 minutes of 6, I hear it again, and my alarm goes off at 6:15.
Mm-hmm.
So I just figured, you know what? Let me check my Facebook, and I'll just get up at 6:15. It's not loud, but I was awake. I already had 7.5 hours sleep. I'm awake. Okay, I go upstairs. Both lights in the room are on. TV's on. He's nowhere to be found. Because where is he? He's in the rack asleep. Okay? Here's what I bet you happened. He got rummaging around for that, and decided he was not going to, he was done with it for now. Went out to the kitchen, got a drink, and rather than coming down the hall, making a left into the room, he made a right into the bedroom, and that's that.
Yeah.
Okay? Meanwhile, I'm awake 4 times because, I hear the thing. Thanks. But, okay. So it goes, with an older folk. You know, it just I don't. Oh boy, Father Time is undefeated, and boy, he's having a party with my dad. Let me tell you what. Oof.
I know. Well, my grandmother's 96. She's still going.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, but I don't know what were we talking about.
Just
Facebook.
again with the Facebook, and then back and forth with that girl with the waiting to be treated.
That's right.
Whether you're young or old, there's always going to be a curveball thrown at you.
But the interesting thing was that, like I said, now it became a political thing. So I'm like, I don't like it. I just don't want that on my Facebook page. That's not what I want. I just don't want. And I wasn't trying to make a political statement. It was more so that somebody died, and it was sad.
Well, of course.
That's really what I was really looking at. Like I was like, oh, is this like really what's going on? That kind of thing. Well, see, there it is. Told you, it doesn't work. Well, that's not what we're talking about here. This poor girl has passed away, and I just want to find out what happened.
I felt badly because there's a perfectly good girl, whether she's 19 or 89.
Right.
There's a perfectly good person, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, isn't here because of something happened.
I was just trying to figure it out, but I didn't know it was a 4-year-old article. Maybe it's my fault for just posting it and not reading the article, which probably that's my fault. But, be quiet. Get off my Facebook page.
Well, that's the other thing, too, that has come out of all of this. People, and it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. And I found exclusive of social media, in areas where people are packed in tight, big cities and busy suburbia. And it's not even just that anymore, but mostly that. People get real surly real fast. Okay?
True.
They just do. When you're on top of one another like we are around here and or in New York, Philly, Boston, Detroit, D.C., Baltimore, what have you, when you're just packed in like a bunch of sardines on top of each other, people get real surly in a hurry.
They sure do.
Real surly, really, really nasty in a hurry. And I've been guilty of it myself. I'm as guilty as the next guy. You start poking me, and guess what?
Don't poke the bear.
Rather than, being Reagan-esque and saying, well, there you go again, and being kind of grandfatherly or fatherly about it, I'm like, hey, the hell off my lawn. How many freaking times I got to tell you?
Oh.
Come on, bing bong, cling clang, out of here. Oh, the Orientals live down the street. They're always on my lawn. Okay? I don't, whatever. Okay? I'm as guilty as the next guy. But this social media.
It's a killer.
You can hide behind the cloak of anonymity.
Yep.
Yeah, you got your name out there, but you know what? Billy Muckenfutch from Montreal doesn't know John Thielon from New Jersey, from a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
So I can.
Well, that's
I
what
can
was
be mean
funny.
to him, and he can be mean to me. And
my friend and two of my friends in Boston, who are both radio guys, and my friend Randy, who's in Canada, who I knew as a child. He's like my childhood. He's actually my musical director when I was in theater.
Nice.
So he's having the discussion with my two radio guy friends in Boston, one of which used to live in Toronto, and lived in Toronto for like 10 years, and then moved back to the U.S. So one knows both. One only knows U.S. and one only knows Canada. And here I am just watching the discussion. Very interesting. I'm like, go for it.
That.
Discuss amongst yourselves. I'll sit back and watch the show.
Topic. Greenhouse.
There you go.
It's neither painted green nor do you live in it. Discuss.
I'll just sit back and watch the show.
Yep.
So that's basically what's going on. They're probably still discussing.
I do that from time to time. I'll light a candle and just watch it burn.
Oh, you do it. You do it just to get a reaction.
Hell yeah, I do. That's what I do. I don't do it as much anymore.
I don't want it anymore.
I don't do it nearly as much anymore. Because when you get a result you're happy with, you don't need to keep poking around. You just ride the wave. Whether it's one thing or another. So, I'm good.
Actually, speaking of radio, and this is you'll understand this topic very well. But my very, very first radio job was with an active rock station called WAAF, which was really popular in Massachusetts. Really, really big station, and it was one of the few active rock stations there. And it closed down today.
Oh, I saw that.
Entercom.
Oh.
Yep. That was my first radio job.
Wow.
Did you see it? It was all over the place. Yeah. Now it's a Christian music station.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was my very first radio job. And I had so much fun there. And I learned a lot and learned how to sell radio there. That's where I learned everything.
Right.
Partied a lot. A lot. Actually, it's interesting because there is a... Is it no, I can't remember the team. I don't want to make a mistake, so hold on a second before I even say anything. But a guy who was on the street team at WAF with me, worked with me, is now the marketing director of, I think it's the Padres.
Oh.
I might be wrong. Hold on, let me check, because I don't want to make that mistake, because that would suck. I don't know if I can do it on my... Well, can I put your phone for a second?
Absolutely.
I don't want to interrupt the thing.
Where do you need to go?
Go to your Facebook page. That's the only way I can do it, because I think it shuts off on my podcast if I go to the Facebook. That's why I can't do it on there.
Who are we looking for?
The Facebook.
The Facebook.
Go on your own page.
You guys
and
with
then
the space.
Tracy, go to me.
With the Facebook and the my
Maybe
face.
you won't be able to see it though, because I have a weird blockage on mine.
Not to be confused with shrinkage.
Let me see if I can see the post.
Come on.
But yeah, he's like a
get out of
big-time
here,
marketing director for a major team. But for some reason, it is San Diego. But I can't remember if it was.
Padres are in San Diego.
Yeah. What's the?
That's it anymore, because there's no other
there's
teams
no
out there, because the
has to be
Chargers
that, right?
moved.
For some reason, I'll find out. But anyways, he was like a street teamer at WAF, and it was funny because everybody's talking about it. And
let's go. What's taking so
right?
long?
Hold on, maybe I can just look it up. Maybe I could just look it up on my own. Hold on. I'm so sorry, Wayne. This is my fault.
I am Dari.
I am Dawi.
Thank you.
You know what? You don't even need to do that, because I don't.
Okay.
You already did it.
No.
Don't bother. Don't even bother with it, because I'm just going to look it up myself. But he, I mean, it's, one of those things. So it's crazy, I'll tell you. So he was on the street team with San Diego Padres. I was right.
Yeah, there you go.
So he's the Senior Vice President, Chief Marketing Officer for San Diego Padres. And he was a street teamer with me on WAF.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? There he is right there. And there he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
What's up?
And the Senior Marketing Director for the Boston Bruins was a seller with me at that same station. So it's interesting. They went out to work with pro teams. But, I mean, some amazing people came out of there. I mean, some amazing people went on to amazing things. Some of them are sales managers now for radio stations. Some of them, a couple of them moved to Los Angeles. And just a lot of talent. Actually, one of the sellers with me, Justin, he actually he's like the VP of the Atlanta Braves radio station now.
Oh, gee.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of like really talented people.
WSJ.
Someone else I sold with. He writes books now. I mean, just really, really talented people. And I had so much fun. I remember going to Coyote Ugly, and we would party on the bar and dance on the bar, and just so much fun. And it's over. It's gone.
It's done.
It's done. It's really strange. It's like done. It's just done. It's never going to be. And it's kind of sad. It was such a good station, and it had so much, it was so different. And it was like such a great experience for me. It was like 2 years. Only 2 years I was at. I went to another station after that. I went to a hip hop station after that, but I did 2 years there. And sad. Very sad.
I'm trying to think. When the AM and FM that I first started with in sales and, helping out with voice work and so forth, the FM is still intact. The FM is still strong. It's a hot country. It's been number one in the Williamsport, Pennsylvania market since 1974. Okay, so even with various ownerships, while it's not broken, nobody has attempted to fix it, so to speak. They've tweaked it, they've buffed it, they've polished it. For a while it got a little stale, but then when I got back there in '96 for my third time there. We really made it, shine like a diamond. I mean, we really did.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Shine brightly. And, because it had gotten stale. And, it's still doing its thing now. The AM, that's WYLQ. The AM, WLYC. When I got out there, it was kind of a music of your life, pre-rock standards, pop standards before, say, 1955, 56. It was everything up to basically rock around the clock. And when rock and roll started, that's when the musical format ended. So if you go back to the 80s and even into the early first part of the 90s, you had a lot of older folks, who were in their 60s and 50s and 60s and 70s then, who grew up with that or were young adults with all of that, and they loved it.
Right.
Well, by the time, again, when I got back there the third time in 96, it came down to dollars and cents. It cost $120,000 a year to run the thing. And the revenue was 105. And it had been about that variance for several years. The new ownership took a look at that and got in place right after the first of the year. And by about this time in that year of 96, they pulled the plug on it.
It's sad.
They just, goodbye.
There's my friend Carrie.
What's up?
It's my friend Carrie Collins, and she's with the Boston Bruins. And she came from that station.
Carrie Collins, she was the quarterback of the Giants.
Not that Carrie Collins.
Damn it.
Wrong one.
Penn State?
No, wrong
Carolina Panthers?
one. No.
Damn it. But now the good news is back to WLYC 1050 AM. It's been reborn. It's an ESPN local sports station. They had folks come in, and I guess you've got about a year to have it be dark until it goes away. And within about 6-7 months, somebody came in and breathed life back to it. And now all these years later, you figure 96, that's what, 24 years ago. It's living and breathing and doing fairly well as an ESPN local sports affiliate station. They do a lot of high school sports, the local colleges around, the area, and, the syndicated ESPN radio programming that they can get. So, God love them. They squeezed the lemonade. I'm sorry, they squeezed the lemon and made lemonade about it. But back to 96, don't you know, when they pulled the plug on that thing, whoo, boy, didn't Louie and Gert call the station like nobody's business? Where's my WLYC? Where's my Patty Page? Where's my Perry Como?
Penny Page?
Patty Page.
Oh, Patty Page.
Patty Page.
Patty Page.
Patty Page.
Look, it's Sully from Godsmack. I went to a strip club with him once. It's true. And when I worked at that
went
station.
From Patty Page to strip clubs in like 3 seconds.
True story. Well, no, I just looked up WAEF, and it had Sully on there from Godsmack, and I actually, when I was in sales,
so
you did a lot of stuff.
Away.
Yeah. We went to a strip club with a customer who was a car dealer named Ernie Bach Jr., and we all went to this strip club, and I got a lap dance, and Sully got a lap dance, and and then there he is. That's my Godsmack story.
And you're sticking to it.
And I'm sticking to it. Yeah,
right.
No, it was true. It was a good time.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's, everybody.
We had fun. I have lots of stories like that. I told you I want to write a book.
I know you
I've been thinking about it like hardcore now. Well, I did start it, but then I stopped, So I really have to. Writing a book is hard because you need to focus and you need the time. So like writers, they're like in little rooms with like old school with the typewriters or whatever, they're on their computer and it's like I feel like I have too much going on. That I can't
white
focus.
Noise around you.
Yeah, so I need to like focus and write it. But I have so many stories, and every time I tell someone a story, they're like, "You should put it in a book." I'm like, I should.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of really great stories.
Yeah.
And I was actually with someone at work I was talking to, and I don't know how we got on the subject, and she said, "Oh, Tracy's had a lot of weird things happen in her life." And I said, "Yeah, I did." And then we talked about a certain celebrity who I won't talk about because I really can't say that. I get sued for it. Who did some things that I knew about, and he's pretty famous. He's very famous, actually. So I could never put it in a book because I would get sued. However, you can change names and
yes, you can,
and make things, change the identity of the person in order to protect yourself. But yeah, I saw some pretty
shady,
pretty interesting things.
There you go.
And that's what we're talking about. I think why. Oh, I know why we started talking about it. because a guy that I work with was saying how much the halftime show disturbed him. And I was shocked by that.
Really?
Because, well, I've heard women say it, but to see a guy say it, and I thought, he said, yeah, it was just inappropriate, what they were wearing, blah, blah. And I looked at him, I go, what? I was kind of surprised by it. And he goes, well, in this day of the Me Too movement, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. I said, hold on. As a woman, take it from me as a woman. I saw nothing wrong with that halftime show. Whether it was what they were wearing was skimpy, well, yeah. But that's what you see on a lot of the singers now, that all the little teen girls go to see. Taylor Swift sometimes wears very skimpy things, and she's very big with the young girls.
Right.
Ariana Grande wears skimpy things. So I didn't really, whatever. But I said to him, I said, honestly, regarding the Me Too thing, if I had $1 for every time a man did something disrespectful to me, and I mean I don't mean I mean disrespectful.
Got it.
I'd be a millionaire. And I said, just because when you work in that kind of environment, if you're in the music business, the radio business, actually any kind of business, you get exposed to it. You just do. And you learn to deal with it.
Radio
you just
could be like that. I mean,
radio
I'm
could
not
be
going
like
to say
that.
millionaire, but maybe a quarter millionaire. I mean, it's, I had stuff.
I had a boyfriend who
on me
dumped
happened to
me because I worked in radio.
Really?
Because he said to me, he worked for Fidelity, which I thought was interesting. So he worked for Fidelity. I was working for this station,
right.
WAF. And WAF at the time, it was very raunchy state. I mean, we did a lot of Howard Stern-esque things in the studio.
Sure.
There was nudity, things of that nature going on.
Well, what are you going to do?
Whatever. And I remember he said to me, your business breeds infidelity. No pun intended with Fidelity, but... that's what he said to me. And I said, really? He says, I don't feel confident. I don't feel comfortable when you're going on those events and those promotions and you're drinking. I don't feel confident that something's not going to happen. I said, well, that's obviously you don't trust me, number one. Number two, just because you work in an office doesn't mean you guys aren't screwing in the bathroom.
Yeah, hello.
Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Nothing.
I mean, and from what I understand, Fidelity's Christmas parties, they all get wasted and screw each other, just to let you know. Okay, 401k Fidelity. Yeah. I know this because I knew a lot of people who work for Fidelity. So I was like, wait a second. Your Christmas parties that don't allow spouses and you get and you have tons of money wasted, you're doing each other in the bathroom, in the hallways, in the stairwells of Fidelity. Shut up. Are you kidding me? And he really dumped me because of that. He really did.
You know what? Good riddance to bad rubbish. I mean, we had, and radio, even out in market number 270. We and in Williamsport and Harrisburg, we had a hell of a time. But we, for the most part, we knew when to walk up to the line and not completely cross it. I mean, there was a little crossing going on, but we really didn't dive into the whole.
It's also a sign of the times too.
And B. Okay, now we're looking back. Oh boy, almost 30 years ago.
Sure.
Or more. Okay, in the 80s and in the early mid 90s, and we would have sales meetings. The Friday afternoon sales meeting. Probably 3 weeks out of 4 would feature pizzas and food on the conference table and 2 or 3 big coolers of wine coolers, malted beverages, beer, whatever you want. It was the Friday afternoon sales meeting. Okay, good week? Yeah. Good week? Yeah. Gonna do, what do you got next week? Good stuff. Okay, let's party. Who's drinking?
And alcohol's involved. That's
hell yeah. This was as recently as quote recently as 1992 and 1993 when I was.
Which isn't recently at all, but to us it's recently.
But quote unquote as recently. Okay, I'm not saying.
It's like the 80s. It was last year.
It wasn't 1972 was what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay. Well, the 80s was only 10 years ago. Come on.
Well, for the little millennials, They,
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We weren't even alive then.
Yeah,
good.
I was born in 2000.
Yeah, I know. I talked to a customer of mine on the phone yesterday, and I'm like, well, blah, 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 and this and that. Oh, man, class of 1982, high school. Oh, man, you're old. I'm like, well, I'm 55. He goes, yeah, I was born in 81. I'm like, shut up.
That's not even bad. I told you that my IT guy was born in 2000. I told you that. And then I was listening to Journey. He goes, yeah, I really don't know much about that Journey. I don't know. I go, what, Journey? How do you not know Journey? Well, I was like born in 2000. And I'm like, ugh. That was like a knife to my heart.
So I was like 19, 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 20. Exactly. Yep.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that insane?
It's nuts.
It's
It is
insanity.
nuts.
Yeah.
You know, Jack was born in 97, and I played all kinds of my music around him, and he knows it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I thought that was interesting. They did Journeys to me is like universal, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Journey. It's not like I said, oh, do you know, Men Without Hats? I mean, that might be a little obscure for somebody.
How about Bern and Eno and My Life in the Bush of Ghosts? Have you ever heard that song? What?
Well, neither have I. So that kind of doesn't.
David Byrne.
Oh, I know David Byrne.
Brian Eno.
Oh, no. I do that. I do know. Okay. Yeah.
Obscure.
Yes.
Non-Talking Heads album from the early 80s, and there's a song. It's a very cool song. I can't remember, but I offhand, but I remember hearing it like.
Brian Eno was all like he was music. It was just music.
And it's My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. And somebody called for that when I was on the college radio station, and there was somebody else there. I can picture the guy. I think his name was Andy Smolacombe, and I'm like, "Hey, Andy, out in the other albums, see if you can find Eno and Byrne, My Life in the Bush of Ghosts." Sure enough, 5 minutes later, didn't he come in with it? And he goes, "Yep, here we go." And I remember putting it on. I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And now I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have to look it up. Okay, if IT, Cherub doesn't know that, I get it. But how do you not, just as a person on the earth in America, not know Journey?
It's weird, right? I don't know. I was kind of surprised by that.
Taking it back.
I don't know. It was weird to me. But, well, what do I know? What do I know, right?
I know.
So, yeah, it was seeing the death of that radio station is sad. And we both worked for Entercom, which is interesting.
Yeah.
We both worked for that company.
That wasn't my finest hour, though, I'll have to tell you. That was toward the end of my radio days, and I just, you know what, I applied to, just for kicks and giggles, to a station not too far from here, down the shore, group of stations, and I have an old colleague who was the morning man when I was at the Citadel group of stations in Wilkes-Barre back 20 years ago, who is now the morning man there on 107.1 The Boss. And I applied for this thing back, I don't know, I sent an email back in January, and then I saw something online about it. I hit it again, nothing. I think this is the world telling me, or the radio universe telling me that, you know what?
It's falling apart.
Stay out. You're good. Do something
radio
else.
breaks your heart.
Stay out. Oh, yeah.
Radio breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And it's true. Radio breaks your heart. And somebody said that, and it's not my words, but somebody said that on my Facebook page. Radio breaks your heart every day. That's what it said. And I said, you know what? You're right. It really does. So, why does this always come up? It's so annoying. It's the most annoying.
So what's the deal with it? It's like 1,000 degrees out. Okay, not really, but it's like 50 degrees out in the middle of February again. I'm not complaining.
I like it.
I'd
like it to stay that way.
It's good.
Oh, I like it. It's good. I'd like it to stay that way.
Yeah, well, yeah. What do you do? What are you doing for the weekend? What's going
on? Oh, you know what I've been doing? I've been binge watching a lot. I decided like last weekend, all I did was I sat in and watched movies. And it was awesome.
What did you watch?
I watched A Marriage Story, which was with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Oh. And it was very good, a little depressing. And it kind of made me reflect a little bit because it's about a divorce and it's about a couple. One lives in LA and one lives in New York, and they're having, battles with the child where the child should be. Right. And it was the most interesting thing to me about it is how like screwed up divorce is. Like divorce is really messed up.
Yeah.
In general.
It's not great.
And it's just interesting. It's such an archaic thing. Like it's almost like, and this is what I compare it to. It's almost like you're owned and you want to give up ownership. Yeah. It's like very, there's something about marriage and divorce in general, the entire thing of marriage and divorce to me that I find extremely archaic and ancient and just the way things are, like, the whole, get married, get engaged, get a ring, that whole engagement ring, wedding band. And the engagement ring, by the way, which I didn't know, I found this out on some show, has not been around for a very long time.
Is that right?
I thought it was like forever. I thought it was like ancient.
Yeah.
No, this is like the actual wedding ring. I think the engagement ring came out when De Beers started. De Beers actually started the engagement ring.
So the jewelry company invented this.
Correct.
Damn it! Just like Hallmark invented all this.
Correct.
Card business.
I didn't even know that. I thought it was like an ancient, like the wedding band, yes, but the actual engagement diamond ring was a creation of De Beers.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, it shocked me. I had no idea. So again, I was like, well, of course it was, because it's all about money and it's all about marketing, and it goes back to the Valentine's Day thing. It being Valentine's Day, someone said, "Oh, it's a holiday. It's a holiday." No, Valentine's Day is not a holiday. It's not a holiday.
It's a bit of a celebration if you want it.
It's a day where people say, "Buy me a card, give me some roses and some chocolate, and say you love me." That's what it is. And then on the commercials and the jewelry and whatever. It's just a marketing ploy. That's the way I look at it. I'm not a big fan of that Valentine's Day situation.
I tell you, back to about with the divorce, it's like, okay, you're right. It's okay. Weird. We can go and do our own thing, but it's gonna cost.
Yeah, weird. Like, it's weird, right? It's strange to me.
It's a derivative. It's a derivative of, well, why does divorce cost so much so often? Because it's worth it so often. There's all these people you see who are just nasty, fighting, arguing, and just not getting along. And you know what? Fine, I will pay money that I don't have, her and or him, to be rid of this angst, anger, tumult, and turmoil. Been there and done it.
Now, here's the thing that was interesting about this film is that they talked about how the relationship started and how they fell in love and what was it about each other that they loved so much that they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together,
right.
And what led to them not spending the rest of their lives together. And, and it goes back to understanding people and understanding people have so many layers to them. People present themselves in a certain way to get to a certain place. And do you actually know a person? Like, how well do you know a person? I mean, it's just like when you see these murder mysteries, and I watch them all the time, as you know, where the man and woman were married. I think of the YTK killer, or TY. Anyways, it was one of those killers. He was a serial killer, and his wife had no idea. His wife, and he was torturing and killing all kinds of people.
And he'd go out and do things. He'd come home like, "Hi, honey, I'm home."
Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I had no idea." And I'm like, "How can you not know?" Like, and so of course on the outside in, you're like, "Well, how could you not know? That's crazy." You know what I mean? But it just kind of shows you just think you know someone. But you really don't know that person at all.
Oftentimes, and not always, I'm not going to blanket statement this, but oftentimes when you meet somebody and you're like, yeah, that's it, she's it, or he's it, okay? It's a sell job. You are selling yourself. You put
it's an interview. It's a job interview.
Yeah. You put on, you put on the best face, literally and or figuratively. Sure. You make it sizzle. You make it sparkle. You make it, scale
The
of
Godfather is your favorite movie? That's my favorite movie.
And then 2 years later, once you're married and it's November and it's Godfather weekend, hey, babe, you want to watch that Godfather marathon with me?
I don't really like that movie.
Really? Is that on again? I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
What happened to... I never said that.
Yep, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, you kind of did.
When we get together, I can't wait to travel. I want to go everywhere with you. I want to go to Spain. I want to go to Ireland. I want to go to Greece. Let's travel. Okay, honey.
I just brought some brochures. Here's Barcelona. Here's Munich. Dublin.
I hate traveling. I just really don't want to fly. I just don't feel comfortable flying.
But you mentioned back when we were.
Yeah, that's when that's before. I don't feel like that anymore. I don't. Sorry. Hey, honey, when we get married, I have an idea. Let's have like 5 kids. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for a family. Cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Hey, I'm pregnant with our second child.
4 years later.
I'm pregnant with our second child.
All right, we're 40% there.
No, I'm done.
What do you mean you're done?
No, I don't want. I just want the 2. That's all I want.
Wait. What happened to 5?
Oh no, I don't want that anymore.
We talked about 5.
No, it doesn't matter. I don't want it anymore.
But that's part of the reason.
Too bad for you. That's all. That's the way it's going to be.
But what about the other 3?
No, it doesn't matter.
Should we adopt?
I don't want it. I only wanted 2. I have a career to think about. Okay?
And I don't?
Well, sorry. If you're not going in the same direction as me, we could end this marriage.
Okay.
And scene.
Free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last.
But do you understand my point?
I do.
And watching that movie, that's what the whole time I'm thinking, you know what? Know. It really is like that. Like, and that's kind of what it was. It was like they had all these right? They had these like similar dreams and similar goals, and until they didn't.
Oh, I know.
But then to separate from that person, to say, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe we aren't meant for each other. I thought we were 5 years ago, but now I realize, you know what? I'm going in a different direction. I really don't want to be with you anymore. So let's go to court. Let's get a lawyer. You get a lawyer. You have to pay for my lawyer. Let's get child support. No, you can't get child support. Let's go to the mediator. I'm going to go to this. I don't like that lawyer. Let's go to this court. No, I don't want to go to court. Let's get. What the hell? And then 2 years later, you're fine. Oh, wait a second. Now I just lost my home. Oh, well, I have nowhere to live. Oh. I mean, it's like crazy to me. It's like, it should be, I don't want to be with you anymore. It's not working out. Let's go. See you later. Bye.
Yeah.
And I understand with the kids, the custody thing. I understand that situation because that could be tricky. However, there should be a plan in place that applies to everybody.
Well, and this is the way it is.
50-50.
I can speak to this.
Unless there's abuse or something, you know?
With no secret, Jamie and I are divorced, still technically, but we're back together.
Right.
But we had divorced 9 years ago, and it just was one of those things where it was, I said black, she said white.
Sure.
I mean, it was Bicycle by Queen. I said left, she said right. It just was like that. Can't tell you why specifically. Generally speaking, I will say communication. I wasn't / we weren't real good at it, okay? I did my thing, she did her thing, and every now and again we would do our thing. And probably 7 or 8 or 9 times out of 10 when we were doing our thing, it would end up with, an argument, okay? Because we just wouldn't communicate properly, I think. But what we did, though, contrary to all this nonsense that you just laid out, is we just, like adults, sat down and said, listen, basically, this isn't working. It's not working, okay? We've tried spraying, scrubbing, and soaking, and we've still got ring around the collar. It's enough already. So I'm going to go my way. You're going to go your way. We do have to, talk about Jack. I mean, because we have a child,
right.
And we worked it out. Long story short, we worked it out for X a month, for X amount of time, and was it my favorite thing to cough up every month? No. But on the other hand, I was okay with it because I knew that I was providing for my son. And not for nothing, at that point in my mind, my son's mother, with whom he still lived,
right.
Okay? Who at one point, was my wife, okay? She is now again, which is nice. But...
You didn't get married?
No, but...
okay.
You know what I mean? Just... Where the rubber is meeting the road.
Mentally.
Just
emotionally.
Realistically, okay?
Realistically.
Yeah, maybe not on the paper, but screw the paper for right now.
Don't do the paper.
Okay?
Sorry, Jamie. Don't do the paper. Don't do it.
Well, we do it, we don't.
No, don't do it.
We'll figure it out.
Now, watch Marriage Story. Don't do it. Nope. After watching that, I don't want to get married.
But the point of it is, we worked things out like ladies and gentlemen. Was it always convivial? No, maybe not. But we worked it out like adults.
Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
You got married, and things were so poor at that time that you felt you couldn't live together, no matter what. You couldn't work it out. I just cannot work it out. Yet, years later, you're back together. So there is no way. How come you couldn't get from A to B? How come you couldn't stay and go through the storm to get through where you are today?
I don't have a specific answer on that other than I go back to just communication and or the lack of, the inability of, the inability or not inability, there was no desire to, I mean, we were just, so what's going to happen with fill in the blank? you know, when one would ask a question to the other, hey, listen, you know, we need to make sure that the mortgage is taken care of, or the oil, we get oil for the furnace, or we get this for the thing, or we get that for the other, you know. And when one of us would bring it up to the other would be just as fine, just as happy to say, don't freaking worry about it, I got it, okay, and give him the one finger salute, okay. It just there was not a willingness.
And it's not like that anymore.
No, it really is not. I mean, I'm not saying it's, you know, roses and lollipops 24/7, because people are people, and you know what? Maybe my favorite color of a flavor of ice cream is not yours.
Right.
Okay. Well, you know, 10, 12, 15 years ago, it would be, okay, this is an exaggeration, but to illustrate the point, it would be, well, what kind of idiot are you for not liking Rocky Road ice cream? That's about the most stupid thing I have ever heard. Who in the hell doesn't like Rocky Road ice cream? You are an idiot. Okay? Versus, oh, you don't like Rocky Road ice cream? No. Oh, how come? Wow, there's just something about, you know, the nuts, the texture of the nuts in there when I crunch them on my teeth. It's just a little off-putting. Now, I do like fudge ripple, I got to say. Oh, fudge ripple. That's where we are now.
Right.
Okay.
But you weren't there before.
Communication.
Interesting.
Communication. That's the big thing, you know. Even with the bad, you know, the bad or the negative things, so to speak, that we've navigated through. It's, listen, we got to talk about this. Let's talk about it, get through it, and be done with it, rather than to dance around it, flip the bird, you know, have some nasty language, and then let it hang in the air, literally, for days or weeks on end.
Which is the worst.
Yeah, the worst. I'm not doing it again. I am not doing that again. Period.
Right.
Will not. Am not. It's. Nope. I'm not. Just don't try to sneak it in the panel with Doc, Ed, and Johnny. Don't even. It's not going to happen. And I don't see it going back that way, which is nice.
Well, you know what's interesting too, in that film, they were having an amicable split initially. And he was like, oh, no, I don't want that. Let's do it this way. And she was like, yeah, I agree. Let's not get a lawyer. Let's like get a mediator. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was in New York, she was in L.A. She met some woman, and the woman said, oh, you know, you're getting divorced. She goes, I have an amazing divorce attorney. She's the best. You're going to love her. She's really great with my divorce, and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, oh, okay, you know, I'll go see her. And that was the end of it. Because once she got in with the lawyer was like, well, wait a second. You're not getting that, and that? Well, no, we decided that's not the way we want to do it. We're not that kind of people. Yeah, but you deserve that because of this. You deserve that. You gave up your career for him and moved to New York. Why you don't want that? And so it made her wheels start to turn. Do. So they went from having this kind of amicable thing, and the minute so this is the great thing. So she gets this powerful attorney. The attorney picks up the phone, calls him, and says, "Do you have an attorney?" He says, "I don't have an attorney." She goes, "Well, I suggest you get one because I'm your wife's attorney." He goes, "What?" He goes, "What? I don't need an attorney." She goes, "Well, yeah, because we're going to take you for everything." He's like, "What?" So he calls her up. He goes, "What? We had a discussion. Things are going to be." She goes, "Well, I don't know because I spoke to the attorney." And then you kind of see the decline. You see how it becomes what divorce becomes.
Oh yeah.
So he ultimately ends up hiring an attorney, even though he didn't want to. And he ended up getting a powerful one. So then the two attorneys go at it, and they get nasty. Oh, she was drunk, and he was taking drugs, and all this stuff that they didn't want to happen happened because they got these lawyers. And then that's again, I was watching that going, this is the reason why this garbage of divorce and custody battles and this nastiness that happens between two people.
I'm so glad we were more adult than that because we didn't have any bit of that. I mean, it wasn't, again, it wasn't a stroll down easy street to get it done.
Right.
But compared to that kind of thing,
terrible.
It was an easy
sad.
street, okay? You know, we just, again, like adults, like ladies and gentlemen, knowing that, okay, for whatever reason that we have agreed to that this isn't working, this isn't working. Okay?
I mean, you should be able to get up and say, you know what? This isn't working.
Right.
Here's the piece of paper. I signed it. Okay, bye.
Which is almost, which literally is almost exactly what happened with us.
Yeah. And that's very rare.
It is very rare. Because people would ask, you know, that we knew, and well, did you this and did you that, or whatever. And no.
Now here's another question. Did you have any money?
I really did.
Right. So let's turn it back and say, if at some point, for some reason, you ended up being a CEO of some company and was making millions of dollars, I can guarantee that exchange would have been much different.
It might have been.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Or vice versa, not, the man would make it.
No, I understand.
You know what
If
I'm
one
saying?
of us would have really come into it,
sure.
then you know what, there may have been a
Because once there's money
reevaluation.
involved, that changes everything.
I understand.
And you know that one of the leading causes of divorce is finance.
Yeah.
That's number one, actually. I think it's finance and in-laws and communication. Those are the top three.
Well, we had number 3 was basically the crux of it. And, through our late 30s and 40s, we weren't real good at it. Now that we're in our mid-50s, and have gone through things separately, some real good and some not so good, whatever they may be, with whomever they may have been in whatever context, whether it was relationships or family or a little bit of both. Now that time has elapsed, now, versus, 2011, and it started before that, but say 2010, 2011, now we're at 2020. And we don't live quite in the same circumstance, in the same world that we did 10 or 11 or 12 years ago.
True.
The vibe is different. The goals and objectives are different. Things are different.
They are different.
And you remember, I think you remember, like you just mentioned, about what brought people together. What brought you together? What brought you together?
What brought you together?
Yeah.
And that's really how the whole movie starts with them they're in therapy, and the therapist asks them to each write a letter about when they fell in love, what was the things that you loved about them.
Right.
And it ends with them reading the letter again, but you see all the in between, all the hate that comes out of it. It's really, when you look at, it's a really great film when you look at it that way. And I have not been married, thank God, but I've watched my friends go through divorces, 1, 2, 3.
It's wonderfully
lots
maddening.
of divorces, lots
it's
of
wonderfully
divorces.
Maddening.
It's sad, and I've watched my friends divorce with money. I've watched my friends. I actually have a friend who's going through a custody battle right now, pretty severe.
That's not fun.
I had friends had their phones cut off, their car insurance cut off, violence. I've seen it all. I mean, I've seen it happen, and it's maddening. And it's like, this is what happens? Like, I don't want to get married. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you don't get married with the intentions of getting divorced.
No,
but
you
I don't.
Here's where I come from a little bit on that. And this may be a little rose-colored glass-ish, but it is what it is to me. I fortunately, and this isn't the case with everybody, okay? I fortunately was able to have 2 people in my life to use as a yardstick, as a barometer, as to, okay, this is how you stick together. Okay, my mother and my father. They got married in 1955, and it was 59 years that they were married. It was 60 that they were together. Okay, it wasn't always the easiest thing. Mother could be difficult, and Dad could be, Dad. And I don't mean the current version of him at 90. I mean just being how he was. But they were loving. They loved each other and just to no end. They respected each other to no end. And even when there was a burp along the way or a hiccup or whatever you want to call it, it didn't last. They had their moment, they dealt with it, and then they moved along, whether it was one thing or another. Stuff that would have broke other people up, okay, would have broken people up. Finances or familial related things, deaths in the family that were, the perception was that it was cataclysmic. I mean, it's death, okay? I come from a different place, different juxtaposition with all that than say, my mother did. But things that would have busted up other couples then and or now, it didn't. It did not, okay? I've been married and divorced twice. And after the first one, they had to have this sit down with me. Oh God, what a pain in the ass that was. And and she's going on like a monkey in a tree, my mom. And I finally stopped her and said, Mother, do you not think at this point, this was what, 93, so they were almost 40 years married at that point. I said, do you not think for 1 nanosecond that I don't want what you and Dad have for damn near 40 years? If you think I don't, you are sadly and stupidly mistaken. And she, oh. I'm like, you know what? The circumstance being what it was has brought me here.
Right.
I can't go back. Okay.
Well, and unfortunately, you can't foresee the future. And
no.
You hope that's what you get, but we meet people every day. Everyone, and you don't know. You meet someone, you say, "Oh, I think this is the one. This is the one I want to spend their life." She's great. You get into the relationship, it doesn't work out, and you realize, "Oh, wait a second. I just met this other person. She's the one who has everything that I want. Not that one. Oops, it was this one. She has more, that's why
that's
you see
a bit
people,
how it went, not for nothing. I mean, my first wife's a lovely person. She's very good. You won't hear me put the bad mouth on her at all because it's not necessary, okay? Did we end up being peas and carrots? No. Okay. Would we now? No. Okay. She has definitely gone in a direction in her life and in her beliefs and attitudes and so forth and so it just they wouldn't. I don't believe they would work well with me anymore.
Right.
Okay, but as young kids, literally just recently out of school, yeah,
yeah, you were young.
It was we were in our early mid-20s. Okay, and it was fine until it wasn't. Okay,
right.
And then all of a sudden you're right. Oh, there's somebody who seems to really get me.
Right.
And blah blah and so forth and here we are.
And I look back on relationships I've had and I say with certain people and I'm like, what the hell did I see in him? I know. Because in my 20s, oh my God, this guy was everything. And then you think back and go, wait a second. What an asshole he was. I was in love with him, but that's what happens. I mean, you at the time, the person you are 20 years ago or 10 years ago is not the person you are today.
Ew.
And part of a long marriage is meeting the person that grows with you, and that doesn't always happen.
Nope.
It just doesn't. It's just life.
And there I am in my very early 20s. Before that, dating a girl whose father is another just big, powerful international businessman. Okay, her grandfather was a physician down in South Jersey, and he was like the king of the town down there. Anything that she wanted, just all she had to do was mention it, and it was done. Okay, and I was this close to sliding into that whole rigmarole, except for the fact that what? Again, she said black, I said white, and for the longest time, I'm just like, okay.
Right.
Until I'm like, you know what? Nope, and it was literally like a switch went off. I mean, literally, from 12:30 in the afternoon to 12:45. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
On a Saturday in January back in '86, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. What do you mean you're done? No, you're coming back. I'm like, shut up. I'm leaving. I'm done. We're done. You understand? Okay. Bye now.
So weird.
Because it just didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work, and I was out in the world, and she wasn't yet. Okay, she was still in that cocoon of university. Okay, I was out and doing, and I'm like, channeling my inner Colonel Slade here. I've been around, and when I have seen a bared man. What the hell is a bared man? Well, she was still a quote unquote bared man, and I was out doing my thing. I'm like, this isn't gonna work.
You just made me think of that YouTube video that's really popular now with the baby.
Which one?
The little baby that's on the toilet and he's potty training, and the father goes, "Did you poop?" And he goes, "I didn't poop. I peed." Have you been watching that?
I know.
It's hilarious.
I have not.
I'm sorry, it just made me think of, "I didn't poop. I peed." He's a little boy. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I digress. Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, it's all of a sudden, whether you're 21 or 51, all of a sudden the switch goes off, the light goes on. And it's like, nope. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get myself involved in this stupid chicken rodeo of wealth, which oh, sorry for your suffering. No, see, there's always a price to be paid. I would have gotten involved in this whole cloak of wealthdom so to say, I would have been beholden, because the father would have helped get me a job in New York at one of the premier, McCann Erickson or something like that, advertising, because he knew that's what I did, and blah, 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 or got me some position with then 102.7 WNEW, because, again, he knew what I did, and he knows people in New York, and I would have been beholden. Then what happens in 2 or 3 or 5 years when I'm like, hey, we're done?
And there goes your job, too.
And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, John, can you come in and get the door? All because
you hurt my daughter. Guess what?
You'll
never work in radio again.
Right, because Pops called the PD who he knew, or he called the owner of the station or the GM of the station who he knew, who got to the PD and said, get rid of him. He's a dickhead. No, I'm not. I just had enough. Or if I'm still there, I'm still beholden. I'm like obliged. I'm not having that.
People get evil. Like, people get evil when they're hurt. And you know, when you're going through that kind of thing and you're hurt, you get mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you, my friend, she was driving, and the cop pulled her over and said she didn't have insurance. And she's like, yeah, I have insurance. And they said, no, your insurance was canceled. Well, she was going through a divorce. Her husband just canceled her insurance. Didn't tell her. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Stop paying her. So the phone was under his name. The phone was gone. Stuff like that. It's like, okay. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just crazy, the amount of stuff I've seen. Like,
see, I wouldn't even think of that.
You wouldn't, because you're a good guy.
You know,
but
if nothing else, I'd be like, listen, we got to figure out this insurance, because you got to go your way and I got to go mine. We got to.
Well, you guys got you get the raw end of the deal, though, because it is true. When there is divorce, especially when there's children involved, a lot of times the guy is the bad guy. The husband's the bad guy.
Oh yeah, of course.
And you get, I mean, the amount of money you guys get, like, sucked. I mean, like, it's amazing. I mean, I actually, you know, my ex, he was paying child support, and he was going through divorce and doing all that stuff. And I was doing the paperwork with him, and I was seeing, like, the way, I was like, this is so dumb. It's so dumb. Yeah. It's just dumb. The way it works. I mean, it's just, oh, if I have custody, I don't have to pay. Or if you have custody, if we have joint custody, you can pay, but I don't have to pay. If he lives with you, I don't have to pay. But if he lives with him, I don't have to pay. Then you have to pay. I have to pay more because, shut up. What the hell?
I know.
I told you, you know, I'm a mutual friend, but got divorced. At the time when they were married, he was the breadwinner making all the money. And then they started not getting along. Then he quit his job and ended up getting a service job, and then she ended up making more money. So then, in the divorce, she didn't have to pay anything. No child. He didn't have to pay child support or alimony, nothing. So she's raising the child now. He gets visitations and doesn't pay a dime, never, not one dime, for anything.
And that's, you know.
How'd that happen? How'd that happen?
I know. I had a colleague of mine who. Pardon me, back again 25 years ago, he had primary custody of the children. How does that happen that the dad gets, there was a story, and you know, there was,
and for a mom to lose custody, it has to be
big. There was a story,
drugs,
there was
alcohol,
a thing,
abuse,
and you know, he didn't exploit it per se, but he made it known, and it was deemed that, okay, you know what, Paulie, you're the guy. You know, you're gonna.
I told you, my friend's going through it now. Her ex is suing.
It's a hell of a thing. I mean,
they're human beings, by the way.
Yeah.
So they're humans.
I know.
So you're shifting humans all over the place and putting them here, putting them there, putting them there, just so you can screw them up when they're adults. Because trust me, they'll be screwed up when they're adults.
And we
just
work so hard on doing exactly not that with our son.
Very true.
And you know what? He's not that. He's not that.
Yep.
Okay, unless it's under there and we don't know it. Well, he's not that. You know, and not for nothing. Again, I go back to the simple fact of, okay, all that in my life, all that was yesterday. It's in the rearview mirror. You know, it's a little difficult right now because of my situation with my father. Not for nothing. Her situation with her mother, she's older as well, and there are responsibilities that need to be taken care of, and that comes first, and we've talked about that. Again, communication. Okay, we talked about that, and for right now, you know what? We're good. We're good. You know, it's not optimal. I would like to go home to her every night, but that's just not... what we're doing right now. That's not in the cards right now because of responsibility that takes more of a front seat. There will be a day when that responsibility, taking a front seat, is not how it is. Okay? And then, okay, now what? Okay? And the beauty part of it is, again, unlike in our 30s and 40s, we're, I think, hugely better at communication. I don't know why, and I don't care. I just know that we are. Okay? And that's huge. You know, talk to your person, folks. Talk to them.
And I think, too,
good, better, and different.
Marriage is put on a certain level, and I think children are led to believe that marriage is supposed to be forever. So when parents split up, it like screws with the children's mind because they're conditioned to think that they're going to be together forever. Why is that even that way? I don't get that. So then the kids are like, oh, I thought you were going to be together forever. Is it my fault? Is it my fault? No, it's not your fault. We love you. We're just, we still love each other. We're just not in love with each other anymore. Like the whole thing is just so cookie cutter bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's lazy language.
I mean, I would seriously tell my child, listen, we're together. We love each other, but we don't know what's in the future. Don't ever think it's forever because you don't know.
It might be.
It might be.
It might not.
But to set those expectations for a child, that's why children get so effed up. And you see all this stuff. Well, they're a product of divorce. They had to go to counseling. Why is it a thing? Why is divorce a thing that can screw up your child? Because you set expectations for this child from birth that the two people are going to be together forever, and
or you put them on the chessboard and you use them as a pawn.
Correct.
Don't do that.
Correct.
Don't do that.
Phony baloney, I tell you.
Your mother's a bit of a whack job. Your father.
Oh, and they pit each other.
Your father's a bit of a jerk.
Brainwashing.
And it's ding, 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 ding.
So
and
wrong.
When Jack was a teenager, and you know what, I'm sure he would grouse about me to his mother, and he would grouse a little bit about her to me. And I would simply say to him, Jack, you know what? Everybody has their moments. Everybody has a day.
Nobody's perfect.
Everybody has their their long times of cogency and lucidity, and everything is just straight as an arrow. And then we all have our times of it's just okay. Let it be. Let it be, son. Yeah. Just she's your mom, and just when things feel like they're going sideways, just let them. Right. Just let it be, and then in 5 minutes or 50 minutes or 5 hours, it'll all be back to the same. I'm not piling on when he says, well, blah 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 blah, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, back in 01, we had a similar situation to where. No, I'm not piling on. A, he's a kid. B, he's not stupid. And 3, I'm not piling on. Okay, on the kid's mom. And I know probably for a very good fact that the vice versa situation was the same. When he would grouse and complain and beef about me, I didn't ever felt like I was thrown down the stairs either.
Bottom line is this:
be good.
Don't hurt your children.
Be nice.
Don't screw your children up, man.
Right.
Because they're going to be adults. Don't screw your children up. I'm begging you. You know what I mean? You don't like each other. Just be honest.
Don't spoil them, but don't mess them up.
It's exhausting.
I know.
don't get it.
I know.
I really don't. You know what else I watched?
So the movie was good then.
The movie was interesting. Yeah. See the discussion it led to though.
Holy crap!
It did. I also saw the movie Parasite, which was very good.
Oh my.
Parasite won Best Picture. It's the first subtitled movie to ever win Best Picture at the Oscars, and it's a Korean movie, and it does have subtitles. I thought it would bother me. Didn't bother me at all.
All right.
The movie's so good.
And so good for you.
And so interesting. And twists and turns. And very good film. I highly recommend it. I think you should watch it.
There you go.
There you go. So I'm going to watch
Paris Movie Corner.
Tonight. I'm going to watch something tonight. I don't know what.
Right on.
Maybe a Netflix show. I already finished Stranger Things. I'm done with that show. And the 4th season's coming out. Love that show too.
Right on. Well,
it takes place in the 80s.
And from the something new, so to speak, to watch. It's new, but it's not. Sports. Ready? Here we go. XFL football. I was wondering how it was going to be.
Did you like it?
I do. The caliber of play is good. It's not, NFL caliber, but it's close. It's close-ish, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I like the rules and regulations package by far and large. I like the fact that they're open, and here's the word again, communicative relative to penalties and what have you. I like that they talk to the coaches and players as the game is happening, okay? Not just, cutting to the sideline reporter who says, yes, and I talked to Coach Farkle on his way out from the halftime, and he said so-and-so. No. Rather than that, they had the sideline reporter talking to Coach Farkle, okay, or whomever. I'm trying to think. I can see the guy for the New York Guardians. That's going to be my team, of course. They took one on the chin last week. Week 3 coming up. It's done 1,000 times better than the original XFL. It's actually football, where that was just a carnival with, oh, by the way, they're going to try to play some football on the field. I'm in. I like it. I wanted to like the old XFL, and at the very beginning I kind of did, and then I did not. So this is good. If those of you who are, football folks who are jonesing for that, why, that's good to watch on the weekends. And the Monmouth Rage football's coming live and in living person in just about a month. 21st of March, we begin in Jackson, New Jersey at the Jackson Justice Complex, the football field. Big stuff, man. We're going to have a good season, I think. Good.
Do they open the door and start talking because they want us to wrap up?
I'm wondering. Either that or it's maybe it's a air circulation thing. Well, it is banging on 7, and I do have to get up the road.
Yeah, I have to go too.
So, what else? Let us know. Hit us up on Facebook. REALTOWN.
Call us next week and talk about your divorce.
Be nice. Mm-hmm. Be nice. Be polite, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Hey, it's almost 7. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Till next time.
Trouble.
I'm John.
I'm Tracy.
And this is REALTOWN. We're gonna go. Catch you next time. Music, please.
When you open the door.
Rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart.